Hello.
Hello.
How are you, James?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, I'm good. So, how was the technical track?
It's good. Sorry for the transition time.
No, that's all right. We probably shouldn't have had you back to back with the two different tracks. So that's our fault. Yes. We have Jean-Claude here as well.
I suggest we start. Now everybody had a cup of tea. And thank you, Felipe, to join for this business track. You are able to wear many hats, and it is what will make this conversation interesting. Maybe you can just start to explain what Applica does and how long you've been working with Ibexa.
Definitely. So I'm the CEO of Applica, and we're basically a development company specialized in Ibexa solutions in Bogota, Colombia. So we've been partners since 2006, and we've had a lot of experience. And one of the things we noticed working with the partner community is that there was always a lack of skilled, easy developers, right? So you will always see challenges for people to deploy these kind of solutions with sophisticated customers. And after working for many years with partners, we've sort of made a few changes. So last year we became an agency-only business for international customers. So basically, we do not work with international customers independently, even though we had done in the past. We did the sites for DC Shoes, we did sites for Quicksilver. We had different multinational companies with which we would work directly, and we sort of changed our model to become partner only, so agency only model, where we're basically a delivery partner for agencies that want to deploy Ibexa solutions to their customers.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the topic of this discussion is exactly that. It's best practice towards subcontracting complex DXP delivery work. So I think this is subcontracting work is something which happens quite often in other ecosystems that we know in the DXP world, maybe to a lesser extent in the Ibexa ecosystem, as you say, where developments tend to be mostly local than in the local country. So can you explain exactly what you mean by subcontracting work and complex work? What does that mean? Subcontracting complex work here.
So I think that when you have the landscape for digital transformation and digital experience solutions encompasses many different components, right? And you have a lot of people in the front lines dealing with customers, doing the digital transformation advisory, doing strategy, doing UI UX, may not have a very strong skill set in the best platforms for achieving that, right? So you may have developer turnover, you may have just understanding that there is a very significant time investment in getting people up to speed and getting, let's say, a world-class team for doing development. So this is different from outsourcing or of contracting generalized PHP development. I think what these partners are seeing is that you want to have a team. And you want to have a team that has solved complex challenges in the past, that has experience, that is reducing the risk of just finding somebody online, and is actually giving you the basis to deploy the solutions. So we've seen agencies that are very strong in the UX and the UI and in advertising, and we're also seeing consultancies that are very strong in change management, right? At the technological adoption, general outreach strategies, and they see that they need a very strong development partner, and they are also seeing that that Ibexa is a very mature solution that is moving very rapidly, right? So Ibexa combines a very mature platform with a very high speed of development, of innovation, and I think that makes it very attractive in the whole landscape.
So if I may rephrase, so you are saying that there is a kind of market gap. On one side, you have agencies who may have the consulting skills, design skills, but they don't have the technical skills for the delivery. Or maybe on one side, you have agencies who have technical skills, let's say in .NET or Java, but they don't necessarily have it in PHP. Or maybe they have the skills in PHP, but they don't have it in Symfony or in Ibexa. So you are kind of using this kind of gap between the market requirements and the delivery needs of those agencies. Can you give us a few examples?
There is a big gap because the technological underpinnings of these solutions are complex, and it's not because Ibexa makes it complex. It's just naturally because Ibexa, if you say it, it's been a very open company. It's open documentation. You can try it out. It's not imposed, but in general, if you see the development landscape, you need to have this kind of broad set of skills, right? You need to be very good at architecting content management. You need to be very good at implementing designs. You need to be very good at doing technical integrations. You need to be very good at having DevOps workflows to have a lot of developers interacting together. So there is a complex skill set that I think that many companies do not have. And if we want to reach the end customers and to actually benefit these end customers, I think a model where you have a cooperation between the, let's say, the frontline agencies and strategists and a strong delivery team is very important. What I think makes our case special is that we are in Latin America, we are in Colombia. Colombia is now a tech hub. A lot of companies are seeing that Colombia combines very strong technical talent with just more affordable rates, with availability of talent, because a lot of you can have people elsewhere, but first of all, they may not necessarily be available, and they are not dedicating their lives to the content management and to the DXP space. Mm-hmm. So just finding that talent, finding those partners that can push projects and that have a very low risk, mm-hmm. is definitely going to push the adoption of Ibexa in the market.
Mm-hmm. So can you give us a few examples of such projects, if you have made any recently, in the recent past?
So I think that that the new generation of Ibexa products, like Easy Platform 3, like Easy Platform Cloud, have just a lot of traction in the market, and we've seen agencies that have known us in the past and say, okay, we want to get into projects with you. So we've seen Jacob Bailey, which is an international agency, and they chose us. They did a very thorough due diligence, but they had challenges for having a site very fast, right? They needed to have results in 1 or 2 months for a site in production, and that's very tricky when you have in the past, when you had to set up environments, when you had to get developers up to speed. So that's proven to be a very effective relationship. And what I think is important is that some of these customers that are getting into the DXP space now are looking at it as a long-term process, right? They say, we're going to start with this brand, and then we're going to move into these other brands. We're going to get into e-commerce next year. So I think that they are laying foundational work, and I think that's an area where we can sort of increase the adoption, increase their agency time to market significantly.
So those are the benefits, I think. What are the other benefits that an agency, say for an agency from the UK, an agency from the US, or an agency from Spain? What are the benefits that you could expect, and also how do you mitigate the risk? Because when people talk about subcontracting, sometimes people think about risk. So how do you mitigate that as well?
So let's start with the risks, and then we'll talk about the benefits. So risks, when you talk about subcontracting, away from your hometown, you're naturally faced with some apprehensions, right? Who am I going to subcontract, right? Like, where did I find these people? So I think there is a part of having strong experience, strong credentials. I mean, if companies like us that have been involved in the ecosystem for 15 years, that have won awards, if we were gonna just run away or slack off, it would have been known, right? So just knowing that you have a strong partner. probably one of the risks is just finding the lowest rate ever or lack of experience. And here it's not essentially what our value proposition is. So we're seeing ourselves as delivery partners for these agencies more than just a one-off project. I think that the advantages for them are just competitive rates, that you have a lot of expertise, and a lot of these problems in content management and in digital experience are things that we have encountered. So I joke that there are not that many surprises that you see when you've solved these type of solutions for 10 years. So there is a lot of existing code base, a lot of existing experience, a lot of best practices that are baked into the way these organizations work. One of the risks that I see is when you see the process as hiring individual developers, and I see it as more hiring a team that has varied skill sets and that are going to be able to fill in holes and to work together to make the solutions stronger.
And so if we put ourselves in the shoes of let's say UK agency, they have a project. So what are the characteristics of the project where it's fine to subcontract? Is there a term of complexity, multiple capabilities, or short time to market? How would you select those projects which would benefit from subcontracting, basically?
I think that's good. I think that the first step is to recognize Ibexa as a viable solution, right? So there are many projects where you have very short-term projects, very low budget, very light initiatives that probably Ibexa will not shine. Ibexa shines when you have a very clear vision of transformation, when you know these sites are going to be serious, where you have security, where you have extensibility as your main guidelines. Now, if they've chosen Ibexa, I think that they will recognize that if they are a new partner, for example, that they can tap into a very deep set of skills very quickly with existing partners that are specializing in this model. So knowing that you can initiate a relationship, that you can have very fast turnover, that you have all of these experiences is going to be a driving factor. And also you will be able to get rates that are potentially much lower than what you can get locally. So I think that those are the main benefits, and agencies have this opportunity of seeing that Easy has built this partner network for many years, and it's nurtured these partners, and these partners are staying in the ecosystem because it makes sense, and because Easy has a proven track record of innovation. Because if not, people would just leave and do something else. And I think that we're in a very special position right now, where development time can be decreased immensely with the new versions, with the platform as a service approach, and customers can get into the Ibexa ecosystem much quicker than ever before.
So your thinking goes, it's business first on the client side, then it's technology second in terms of decision, and then it's delivery third. And so this is the way to combine all those assets. So that's interesting. So you know, of course, Ibexa quite well. What does make Ibexa a good platform for subcontracting compared to other maybe more complex, sophisticated solutions, or other which are less sophisticated? I won't give any name here, but what are the characteristics of the technology that make it good for our subcontracting?
I think that the core components of Ibexa that make it exceptional haven't changed in the past years. And when we got into Ibexa, that was probably 2005, and we made a lot of debates around what would be a solid CMS. And if you look at it, it's remarkable that the same core of openness, of having a very strong content model, of having very flexible front-end development, those principles have maintained. Having a very strong international outlook for having multiple sites, multiple languages, all of these things, I think, make Ibexa a very mature solution.
Yeah.
So just the track record is very important. But what I think that is remarkable in the past few years is that Ibexa is not a content management platform anymore, right? You see it as it's more the basis for building digital businesses. right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having very strong content model and some decisions that at a certain point were not as clear in terms of vision for some other people, like adopting Symfony head first. I think those things are paying off remarkably right now. And in the next few years, we're going to have a platform that is much more solid, that has a lot of momentum, that has a lot of maturity. So I think that Ibexa has those technical components. It has a very strong leadership team, I think, and a very open sales team that is not pushy, that is just focused on showcasing the solution as it is and letting the solution sort of speak for itself. And I think that that openness is perceived in the marketplace, and I think in terms of how it compares with the other, let's say, enterprise-grade solutions, Ibexa has a very strong position for selling to new customers.
So you mentioned openness, but this is more from a mindset point of view. Would you say that the open source license, also the open source nature of the business, is also an advantage for the client, because she's the client, she may look for different agencies actually. She has more choice.
This is the thing. When you move into enterprise grade software, what you will see is that sales cycles are much longer, right? If you look at how IBM, how Oracle sells, these are very complex solutions. They are very expensive. And what you get into realization is that customers do not really understand the details of the solution until they pay $1 million for them, right? So that's sort of the joke around the way these solutions are sold. And what I think that Ibexa gives you is it has essentially very little risk. It's very open. You can see the documentation online. You can have a trial solution. You can have a test site. You can talk to different partners. You can talk to the core developer. So I think that openness in the way it's being sold is remarkable compared to enterprise solutions, right? And then the idea of having an open source core, I think, communicates a lot about the values of the solution. I don't know how you see it, or probably James, if in your experience, how that is perceived in the market, that openness in terms of open source and the way it's being sold.
I think that one of the critical features that clients like is this scalability of investment. So as you said, providing in the sales cycle, providing personalized demos, providing MVPs, starting a low site with a reduced scale so that the business model can be tested, a new activity can be tested. I think that's part of the value prop. But is this also part of your subcontracting model? Can an agency or a client subcontract to you an MVP, a proof of concept? Is that also part of the model?
Definitely, yeah, it is. And I think that sometimes agencies are not necessarily trying to solve one project. They are trying to define what their future platform is going to look like, because there are not that many enterprise-grade solutions that are comparable. So with agencies, we've worked on let's do this initial project. Let's see how we align together. And I think that part of the complexity with aligning different vendors is aligning the process, the way how do you manage tickets, how do you manage deployments, how do you manage planning development, sprint planning, those kind of things. So here I think what we have to focus on is having a very mature set of tools and processes, and also having some flexibility to align with what the agency is working on. What I've seen in many agencies is that our processes are much more sophisticated, are much more mature for the technical delivery. And it's very interesting that we have this very clear separation of responsibilities, right? They have full control over the client relationship. They have full control over designing the experience, and we're focused essentially on delivering what's possible with this solution. So I think having that difference in roles allows them to get started. in our previous talk, Jean-Claude, I was talking about this semi-headless approach for delivering sites. And what this does is we start separating the front end from the development. So some agencies may say, you know what, I have very good designers and I also have very good front-end developers. Let me handle the front end and let's have you handle only the easy templating and the easy content structure. And that's also very possible. So having those models where you give the agency more freedom for how they use their internal resources is also an advantage of the way the Ibexa development works.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you are saying that this model is also facilitating the split with headless, so that your part would be to focus on the back office and the content management, and the local agency, be it in the UK or the US or Spain, would focus on the front office, maybe in a different language than PHP, and the underlying user experience. So you can even have a clear cut between the two roles. And
that's exactly what we're mentioning. And I think that the headless vision, it resonates with a lot of people, saying, okay, let's have a CMS or a DXP that provides content, that provides integration, that provides some technical services, but let's leave the front end as transparent as possible to give us all of the freedom that we may want. So while headless is an approach, our approach for semi-headless allows us to apply some of these principles of headless to regular developments, which are not necessarily using the full separated stack, but that allow freedom for front-end development without affecting backend, and also a very easy, a very clear split of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. And so, if we look at that on a more commercial point of view, who is managing the relationship between Applica and Jacob Bailey, for example?
So we have the following team structure. So we have a relationship management team, which is led by myself. So basically, the agency to delivery partner part is managed by myself. We have a director of operations who manages the planning of delivery. We have project managers, and we're organizing technical teams. So technical teams have a technical lead, and they have 3 or 4 people, and these technical teams are assigned to a particular project for delivery. So what is interesting is that having an agency-only model and having very clear and standard rates allows us to be able to interact with the end customer. So in the cases of a project we recently won with you, Jean-Claude, Applica was involved in that sales process. So they were perfectly open, saying we're going to work with this partner. It's award winners, and they have this skill set, and we were able to influence the sales process, because I think there's a very big difference when you have EC being sold by a very strong implementation partner and the agency together with the vendor as it stands. I think it makes it much more compelling and much easier to close a sale when you have these resources that are not, let's say, completely in the background, that they are open, and it's clear that the agency is working with a high-end partner for delivery.
So closing a sale in a non-salesy way, so to say, as several speakers said before. We have actually exactly a question related to that among the participants. So I'm just going to read it for you. It's very practical. So compared to other DXP vendors, Ibexa has a very attractive pricing. So that's the beginning of the question. You can build serious sites with less than 100,000 euros in subscription fees per year. But the partner ecosystem is not as big as with other players. So the questions are here: what price advantages do agencies in the UK or in the US have if they subcontract to Applica? What is the daily rate for an experienced, easy platform architect? That's very straight to the point.
So sure, and so we work with a blended rate model, and this partner blended rate model can be around $80 per hour, and this can be reduced with volume. And basically here you get both very skilled developers, but you get very skilled architects and very skilled analysts that are involved. So we have this sort of blended rate model, but we also have per project pricings where with very clear requirements we can do pricing on a per project basis, and we can also support different let's say non-development tasks like infrastructure and DevOps. We also bundle it together. So you have very strong infrastructure people, people that are certified in cloud, that are experienced with container-based deployments like Easy Platform Cloud, and you also have very strong developers and very strong easy architects that can get solutions up to speed very quickly.
Yes, so I think this is extremely interesting because this question is pointing to the ecosystem. And I remember one of our key partners, Alex Net from Microblau, when he was in the partners meeting this year in Malaga, he said that it's not really even a battle of products, not of platform, it's a battle of ecosystems. So this is, I think, working in an efficient way like that is part of this winning game, winning around ecosystems. And as Felipe mentions, there are still, although there may not be as many partners with this DXP as the others, if you look at a global basis, really, this DXP is global, and you can find partners all over the world with the skills that allow to expand this ecosystem regardless of the distance. And I think it was interesting also in the previous talk that we had from the client, Tony Vedelis from Christian Science Church. He was saying basically that he didn't care about the distance. He didn't care about the proximity. He was really more caring about the skills, the technical skills, and caring more about the relationship with the vendor, with the publisher, with the agency. So we should really look at the ecosystem not as being local, but really being global. And we should play synergies between partners as Felipe from Applica is suggesting now. So this is almost the end of this talk. Just if you have any further question, I'd be happy to bring it to Felipe, or if not, Felipe, do you have any final recommendation for potential agency, UK, US, that would like to subcontract?
Yeah, I mean, I would just close with saying that I think that the partner ecosystem that Easy has built is very strong. And if you look at it, partners don't see themselves as being direct competitors. There is a lot of collaboration between partners. And what I think we have is a major DXP market coming through, right? So I think that there is going to be a lot of demand, a lot of work, and there is going to be a lot of work for mix and matching different types of styles of working and capabilities and experience with the existing partner ecosystem and expanding that partner ecosystem with different skill sets. So I think in general that Ibexa has a very strong position in the market right now, and there is a bright future ahead. That exposed.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure that this experience will be interesting for those people who are exactly in this situation of meeting client needs for complex DXPs, but still having a gap as a new partner in terms of skill set or in terms of technology. So this is closing this meeting with Felipe Jaramillo from Applica, and I will leave it to our host of the day, James, for a few conclusive words. Thank you very much, Felipe.
All right.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Felipe. Thank you, Jean-Claude. And thank you to all of our speakers today, to Sylvain and to Roland for the product update, and also to Adam from Essilor, for Tony from the Christian Science Church, and of course Felipe, who's been hot-footing around the different tracks. That's great. Thank you very much.
Right.
And I'd also like to thank our organisers, Linda, Nicole, Sue, Natalie. Thank you very much for all the hard work. This sort of thing doesn't just happen overnight. Great. Well, if there are no more questions, I've got the little thing open here, so I can't see any more. But you know where we are, and we look forward to working with you, our customers of today and our customers of tomorrow. Thank you all very much, and I wish we could have been with you all in person this year, but this year we're online. So At this point, we will say thank you all, and we will close the Ibexa Engage 2020. Thank you very much.